And I'm going to ask you to turn with me to Genesis 37th chapter. Genesis 37. And after I get through reading, I need a good writer on this board to just write a few words, and then you can sit down, whoever wants to do that. Right after we finish reading. Excuse me. All right, now, Jeff has the scripture on our screen. I'm going to start, and this will be familiar to you, nothing new. 37 verses 1 through 11. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father, and to his brethren, and his father, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. Now, sister, I want you to write 4 words up on the board for our consideration today. The first one is partiality. Partiality. The second word, you got it? Sweet. Okay. All right. We got some teachers in here. We need to. Jealousy. Jealousy. Envy. And the last one, hate. Now, it's my contention that within this text speaks to all of these particular words. You all know the story. Joseph here is, at 17 years old, been blessed by God to dream dreams and interpret dreams. And he simply is being informative to his brethren about what he's dreaming. But the first problem that we see in the text is these words, that his father loved him more than all his children, because he was the child of his old age. Now, you can be sympathetic to that because he wanted a son from, was it Rachel? Yes, Rachel. And she gave him a son, but she died. But that was the daughter, that was the son of Rachel. And so he took a liking to him. But in taking a liking to him, he didn't show the same love to the other children. And that is a trap that many of families have gotten into because they love one child or two children or three children over the other children. And that's called partiality. When you become partial to your children, or one over the other, as bad as they can be, there's always a child that's a little bit more like you, somebody that obeys, somebody that's considered good to you. That child seems to have more qualities than the other ones. They seem to be more respected by others than the other children. And in fact, they may be just that. But it is not reason to be partial. But that is the reason why people treat one child better than the other one. Now, if you got one child, that's all you can treat good. But when you have all these kids, you have several kids. I have 4 or 5, I have 6, I don't know. But the thing is, and the reason I say that is because we've had so many kids to stay with us that we call daughter, we call son, or whatever, because they lived in the house. But the thing that we have to be careful with, that I had to train myself to understand in this text, as you all understand it, is that we can't be partial to one over the other. Now, why is that important? Why is that important? Because you see, damage can come later on, or even at that time when they identify that you identify with one child over the other. And the hatred and all this other stuff begins to come out, jealousy and all these other things start, in this case, with partiality. It starts with you doing more for one than the other. But they didn't understand who Joseph was. And see, when you don't understand what's coming down the line, you can't grasp it. Joseph was blessed by God. He was ordained by God. And you see it in the fact that they gave him a coat with many colors. It was a designation that says something special is going to be about you. And even his father didn't see it, but he respected it because he did understand there was something different about Joseph. But now, at the same time, when you devote too much time to one child over the other without letting the rest know that you love them, there's going to be some problems. Jesus had 12 disciples. He had some close ones. John was his closest disciple. But then the others didn't feel jealous because he gave them the same kind of love. You didn't see the infighting that was evident among the disciples until somebody came up and said, "Can we sit on the right hand of you when you get into the kingdom?" And that caused conflict among the rest of the disciples because they wanted preferential treatment but didn't earn it. Joseph, you understand, was ordained of God to do something greater than anybody else has done in the scriptures in terms of reflecting the coming of Jesus Christ, because he was able to have interpretation of dreams. This ability was going to cause him great capacity. So when we look at our families, the first thing I want to bring out is the fact that if we've been impartial, we've got to learn not to be impartial. Because it does create division, it creates strife, and all of us may have done it to some extent, because there's going to be some children you just say, well, it's more like me, more like what I would like to see. But here's the dilemma you find yourself in when you treat one better than another. So it became Terry and I's objective that we gave one child a gift, didn't have to give them the same one, but they better get a gift. If I do for one, I'm going to have to do for the other. If I bought one child a car, I'm going to buy the other one a car. You see, so I had to always cough up money for people's transportation, because this was trying to make sure that we did the same for each child so they wouldn't feel distant and separated. And that's one of the byproducts of that. They feel isolated. They are over here when who they love is over here. And so these are the things that can come as a result of favoritism or partiality. I'm partial to one person or the other person. And so the thing that I gained from that, as well as all of us, is to realize that also takes place in relationships in any body of players you have. Even in the church, there ought not to be partiality. I won't do for you, but I'll do for this one. I'll take you with me, but I won't take them with me. You see, and now we have to be careful now, because in the church, you can't say everybody can do the same thing. There's going to have to be somebody that knows a little bit about what they're doing when you talk about offices and responsibilities. You know you can't handle money, so we ain't going to let you do that. Now, that's not because we're being partial. That's because we know you have an issue. And you may know that. So the thing is you have to play this right, because some people will think that you're being partial to others because they won't let you do this. But you have to realize what we're dealing with here is not my family in terms of biology. It is a group of families coming together to make one family. And there are some children in the family that can do this well, and there's some other children in this family that do something else well. So you have to be able to recognize that and not be partial. You see, so this comes into the church. When I was managing over in the OCPS, all these auditors had different capabilities. All of them couldn't audit the same way. We had some people you had to review their papers and mark it up and tell them, go back and do this again. There are other people they came and I looked at it, everything looked fine. It didn't mean that we didn't need the other auditor. It meant that they needed some more training. And so they got more training, the better they got. To be able to see things that we needed to see and document things. So all of this has realization. They couldn't have got the job unless they had some capacity. So we have to look at it and say, we have to be careful of this word called partial. And it's based upon sometimes who we like. Lord have mercy, get down to it now. I like you, Reverend Smith. That's why you're going to be able to go with me to when I go places. I like you. But since I don't like Marcus, he can't go. So now, you see how like in the church cannot be used at all. You see, it's a lot of people we like differently than others. But when it comes to using people in their capacity and what they do well and supporting one another, you cannot be partial. You have to know what they can do. So if anything, the Lord commands us never to like people. Did anybody read that book in the scriptures where the Lord say like somebody? That must have been the 67th book. Them 66 books don't say nothing about it. What you like. He commands us to, though, love one another. Now, what does that entail? Loving somebody entails knowing somebody. You see, if you love people, then you get to know them. You start to know what their abilities are. As I worked with the auditors, I found out who was good at this, who would be better over here and looking at this particular thing, and who would be better over here. Somebody here, and there's another one need to stay in the office because of personality issues, which would get me in trouble. So what I was doing was trying to parse it out based upon not partiality, but ability. And so the church is even greater than that because it says it has a love for one another that has nothing to do with what you like. And that will make a powerful church if everybody can grab that. That I'm not here to see who I can like. I'm here to love everybody. I'm not here to pick and choose who I would want to be with or be around. Because everybody ain't going to be pleasing to you. And here's another thing, you ain't pleasing to everybody else sometimes. So the issue becomes, what is God saying? God is trying to show us the pattern by which we can have functionality together, even though a person is still out there doing bad things, and we know it in the church, even though they are still going to the club, doing this and doing that. Okay, we know that. But you know what? I came from the club. I don't know about some of y'all. Some of y'all was kept under the reins, but I came from the club. You see, so I might as well tell the truth, Christian, about it. No sense in lying, because somebody said I saw him there. So the thing is, what we all have been in essence rescued from something. And the Lord brought us into the house of God. And so this is the thing we ought to be thankful for. And he put us around other folk that's supposed to love us unconditionally. Not remember where you came from, but thankful for where you're going. So I'm not interested in this thing about folks' history. That's history. Past tense. For you English folk. That's past tense. So the thing I'm looking for is today and tomorrow. I'm looking for, can that person who's still hung up with that sin that comes to church on Sunday, can we keep giving him the word and embracing them and loving them? And maybe God will change what they do. It's not for me to change you. It's you being around the people of God that can help you change who you are. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples. You have what? Love. It shows. It's identified by the Lord. The Lord identifies love. And then he says, if love is expressed, it's like a city that sitteth upon a hill that cannot be hid. Folk want to go see what that is. We live every day around phony loving people. People that say they care about you. They like you for a while until you do something wrong to them. Until you fail in something or have a failure. They won't like you like they used to like you. But your brothers and sisters of the faith, I'm talking about the real ones. I ain't talking about the folk that coming in here saying they're Christian, bootlegging. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the real deal, the real folk that have been washed in the blood of the Lamb, that know who God is. They're going to love you. I don't care what you do. You need that. Because some of us fall, right? Galatians says, if a brethren be overtaken in a fault, those who are what? Talk about them like a dog. Tell somebody else, I told you they wasn't no good. Throw them out the church. Those who are spiritual minded do what now? Restore. In the spirit of what? Meekness. Why? Because you got to consider yourself. The same thing they did, you are potentially capable of doing. It may not be the same thing, but it might be another sin. You can fall just like everybody else. And you're going to need somebody that says, I don't care what you did. I'm going to get you back where you were. I know who you really are. You God's creation. You are royal priesthood. You are a holy nation. You're not what you messed up in. You had a failure. You had a fault. You had something you did wrong. But God can restore you back to where you were. We are not judges and jury. How many people you know, they're just finding out now that a lot of people got put in jail was innocent. They've had to, it was when we started getting this, what is it, this new forensic DNA stuff. Come back and found out a man been in jail 30 years and didn't do nothing. The judge and all those folks said, yeah, he guilty, throw him in there. We poor judges. We don't have the capacity to judge with all this impurity in us. God is the only righteous judge. And so we have to be mindful of that. So first thing we see is partiality. Second thing was what now? Jealousy. Ooh, goodness. What makes people jealous? Anybody, just tell me what makes people jealous? Huh? One word is insecurity. What else? Anybody know what makes folks jealous? Envy. We're covetous. We want what somebody else has. There's a lot of justifications that we can make on it for why somebody becomes jealous. But insecurity captures it because it says when you insecure this way, you look at others and are upset with others because of how they're being blessed. You don't have enough understanding of who you are, so you're mad with other folk for what God may be allowing in their lives. You're upset with it. You're jealous. And jealousy leads to what? That's right. And we start getting mad with folk when they get too much, right? When I wanted that position. I wanted that recognition. They didn't recognize me when I got what happened. Why they didn't recognize me? They mentioned their name. They didn't mention my name. And so jealousy is a poison. It stifles fellowship because you think that somebody is getting a better shake than you. You've forgotten about how God has already blessed you. You've forgotten about you could be 10 times worse in your condition than you are now. I just need you to look at a place called Somalia. Places over in India where people are sleeping on the ground in a box. People on the beach side laying on the beach sand don't have a place to go or no shelter over their heads. People starving in India because they won't eat no meat. That's because of their mixed up religion. This is the state of our people in a lot of situations. We're mad because somebody else is blessed. Aren't you wanting to be blessed? If you are wanting to be blessed, don't you think other people want to be blessed? So why are we mad? Because other people blessed. We don't see how blessed we are. Now, material things, Sister Smith, is a problem. Yes, it is. Because your house bigger than mine. Your car costs more than mine. Your clothes cost more than mine. I'm jealous. Now, I didn't say I was naked. I didn't say I don't have a house, but I'm jealous. I do have a house. I do have a bathroom. I do have clothes. But I'm mad with Sister Smith because hers is better in and bigger and greater than mine. This is how those young men were feeling. They said, "Why this boy got a coat and we ain't never got one? Daddy ain't give us no coat with many colors. Our clothes got one color to it." So we get upset. What's the problem here? And we respect Father, so we hate the recipient. We're really mad with Father, but we take it out on the person who's got the coat. You know, black folk were in slavery for so long. We just got out off the camp. We just got out picking cotton and whatnot. And so we sometimes, you see, even in Africa, when we were taken in over the boats, you know, people sold out black folk in Africa. The white folks would come with little trinkets and give them to them. Where's all the Negroes? "Oh, they over there." Just give them a little something and they'll sell out the whole crew. Those people came over here, became slaves. And we were subservient for a long time. Your great-grandfathers and your great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers were subservient people. They had to bow. They didn't have a lot of pride. They didn't have a lot of this and that. They had to honor the white man. So it's easy for us to become jealous when black folks start progressing in our face, because they think they better than us. When all you've been praying for, your grandmothers and grandfathers been praying for you to be blessed, you to be free so you can be blessed. We've taken that and say, when a Negro gets something we don't have, we mad and jealous. I'm going to say amen to that myself. I know I'm telling the truth. Black folk have a problem with jealousy. We ought to be thanking God when a brother gets up, and when a person gets a new house, when a person gets a new job. We ought to be thanking God. We ought to be saying that's a blessing, not jealousy. Isn't that what you've been praying for? You say, well, all I've been praying for that is for me. Now that says we got another issue. If all you want to see blessed is you, then you're selfish. We ought to be thanking God when people get something and when they move to another step in life. You ought to be glad, not sad. You ought to be happy for them. Now, see, we conclude then, and then some on the other side of that coin, the one that got blessed, they get the white syndrome sometime. I don't mess with y'all no more. See, I go to the big church now. I don't go over there with y'all no more. I done moved up. I don't even call you no more. You can't go nowhere with me. I'm going to Paris. Can you go? I got a new set of friends I got a new group I hang with. They like me. You done left the folk that loved you and went to the like folk. They like you for what you got. And see, when you lose that, you're right. When you lose it, they say, well, wait, what you said your name was? You ain't got your membership card no more? I'm sorry, we don't do you no more. Jealousy hurts us in a lot of ways. And we've got to do what God asks us to do, to love people. If they're the janitor at the school, if they're a street sweeper, if they pick up garbage for a living, in the house of God, they're just like everybody else. You don't have no big station here. Now, in some churches, the more money you got, the more closer you get to the pastor. You get by your own front seats. You see, you get preferential treatment. You can be out for 6 months as long as you send your check. We'll be happy. You see, we've gotten caught up into the world concept. Jealousy is a problem. So the admonition is to be careful of jealousy, because the simplistic thing of this, all of us who are living are going the same route. You're going to die just like the rich man. The rich man going to die just like you. See, and nothing is going to be saved because ain't nobody going to let you keep it in that casket or nowhere around the casket. So the thing that I'm trying to get over to you is how this relates to the body of Christ. We cannot afford to be jealous. Jesus, well, it wasn't necessarily Jesus, but he said, the Lord said, whosoever will, let him what? Now that could be anybody, anywhere, any race, any culture, any creed, any past, any present. He says, let him come. Now, New Providence, can anybody just come up in here? Huh? Do they have to meet our criteria in terms of, do we have any cliques in here? Cliques say, no, you don't sit with them. You over here with us. Whosoever will, let him come. They are not as well astute in biblical doctrine as you. They are going to do things out of ignorance. And sometimes they'll just do it out of just being sinners like we are. But we grab hold of them because we love them. Now we say, well, I don't feel that way. This ain't talking about how you feel. See, that's another thing. We have to deal with feel. I don't feel this way about them. They came in, they look drunken, they this or that, or they wear short dresses, or I don't want them enticing my husband. I don't want this. They children not like our children because they don't know the rules and the things of the church yet. It's what you call training. You have to put up with some things that you didn't adjust to. Where is Marcus' son at? Is he here today? Okay, Marcus' son came in here. The first time he came in New Providence, we all knew what his problem was. What I loved about how you did that, you accepted that boy. He wasn't doing like others. He still can get up, run, go across the church. I don't even pay him no attention no more. Because you never know what God is going to do. So you say, well, we can't keep him still. He won't be quiet. He won't move too much. Some of our children move too much. So I love the fact that we just said, okay, that's all right. Whosoever will, let him come. Now, he said, so then when you're jealous, you tend to run into this envy thing. What is envy? Anybody? Huh? Okay. When somebody comes in with a gift or ability that none of us ain't got, people can become envious. Well, who they think they is? You know, this is not what you're saying to them. You're thinking it. You're thinking who they think they are. Just because you can do that better than all of us. So you look at somebody and instead of saying, what a blessing that they want to hang with us to be a blessing to us, to magnify the Lord around us, to give God the praise with us, we worried about them. Isn't that what the problem was with, who was it, Reverend? With David? Saul? Saul had that problem, didn't he? David around here beating up on giants. Then turn around and the people start singing that song. David has killed his 10,000s and Saul his thousands. That got to the heart of Saul. Envied him. I look like a king, but I ain't got them kind of credentials. I ain't that like that. It took a young lad to kill a giant when all them grown men was there. And what did he have to kill him with? They say, well, we'll give you all this stuff. He said, no, I don't need that. How many rocks you had? So I just give me some rocks. I got it. Because I'm coming in the name of the Lord. So when God used him to take down the giant with his capacity. Who can be against you when God is for you? But Saul, He said, this little sucker is a problem. You don't sing more about him than you do me. So now what happens? The Bible says the Lord put an evil spirit upon Saul. And the Bible said he eyed David from that day forward. I'm watching you, boy. Because, see, he's thinking David wants the kingship. Now, David didn't want the kingship. He'd already been taken from him. He just didn't know it. See, the Lord had already sent his man by to tell him, hey, you're going to be crowned the king. So now what's happening? He's gotten envious. He get his little javelin and throw it at David. Try to kill him. In the meantime, David and his son is getting a great friendship. And see, we take people that are here to become a blessing, and we try to stifle them by throwing javelins at them. Why? We envious. They can handle children better than us. Maybe it ought to be. They can do things with kids that we can't do, or we haven't had the opportunity to do. Here's somebody God has sent you. You mad because God sent them. And that's weird. You see, God sent you somebody. God sent us Christian to play us music. You can be mad with him as you want, but God sent him to do what he did. He sent us people here to help us to become better at what we're doing. But some of us want to run them out. You don't come in here and mess up what we got running here. We do what we do here. That's what it is. It's ignorance. You look at a gift of God from him, and yet you say, I don't want to be bothered with him. You ain't all that. Instead of embracing and saying, thank you for coming and helping us in the ministry of God. Thank you, embracing people. That's the New Testament church. Let me hurry up. I'm going over time. The last thing is hate. Hate. Envy turns sometime into hate. And so what you do, you go above and beyond talking. You start planning and scheming because you hate that person. And when you got to the point of hating somebody, you're losing your place with God. You have people in the church that hate one another or have expressed hatred towards one another. Now, I don't want to go back and rehash nothing. But I've seen hatred manifested in this church. I don't tell no lies about it. We've seen it. People manifest hate towards one another and then come in here and sing Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound, save a wretch like me. See, the problem with that, you say, I once was lost. No, you still lost. If you hating up in the house of God, you still lost. If you can be hateful in the church and you say you're of the body of Christ, because God can dwell in you and you be comfortable with hate in your spirit.